afternoon, everybody. I wondered what happened because Aurora said hi to you, but you weren't here. It's like, what is going on? That's bizarre. So then, and I didn't have it up on my laptop, and I thought, well, maybe because I'm looking at it in StreamYard, and StreamYard, like, just didn't post whatever you wrote. Well, that's not offensive. Why did YouTube censor that? Because YouTube was YouTubing. Hey, everybody. My name is Debbie. Welcome to my channel. We forgot to watch Jose Soto-Escalera's sentencing yesterday. So, if any of you guys have seen it or know the outcome, I do know the outcome because that's just, I'm a nosy biatch. So, I had to know. Just please don't tell us we're going to watch it together. Not everybody's here. I told y'all 2 o'clock. Marty, where are you? You said 2 o'clock was fine. He did know it was 2 o'clock my time, right? Oh, okay. What time? Do you know? It's noon there. It's 1 where Marty is. I'm not waiting an hour. Okay, so not tomorrow. Monday, we'll do Brooks until 3, and then we'll do Adelson's sentencing, and then... Do you know, I saw a thumbnail. I've not watched it yet. I haven't had time. I've been modding on a Disney stream all day. She complained that she didn't have enough time to decide whether or not to testify. That heifer. She straight up lied because she absolutely had enough time to decide whether or not she was going to testify. Absolutely had enough time. Jeez. I've not watched any of the bad behavior videos or any of that. I keep seeing them. Maybe we should do them. I'm trying to think what. If they're long crime videos, I can't show them because they'll give me a hard time about it. But if they're on court TV, we should have a members only where we just make fun of Donna Adelson. Well, if it's members only, can they still copyright strike me? They probably can. Whatever. Okay, I'm gonna have heartburn soon. It's already started, actually. I just ate a bunch of fried jalapenos. I might be burping into the mic again. You're a member. Yeah, you're a member of my channel. No, they do not. They do not. Because only they want to make money off of their own videos. That's why I said I don't know if it'll make a difference if I do it a members only or not. But I can't remember. It might have been court TV. I just remember seeing them. Like, I didn't watch any of them yet. Just that she's been a diva in jail, which does not surprise me at all. Somebody with that kind of money that's always been able to get whatever they want is going to act that way in jail. It's just their nature. I can figure out which mouse to use here. Oh, Travis is home too. I forgot to tell him I was doing this. So hopefully he won't walk in and make who knows what kind of announcement like he did yesterday, which I'm not going to repeat. Wait, they're fingerprinting him now? Why are they fingerprinting him now? Haven't they already fingerprinted him? Him again. You know, I don't know if it's because we watch these all the time, but it makes no sense at all. In order to get out of trouble, right? They're always to keep from getting into trouble with a spouse or a girlfriend or whatever. And they just get in more trouble. Do they not see that when they do this, that the result is going to be more trouble when they get found out? Because they're going to get found out. Like, Donna Adelson got to spend more time with her grandsons as they were growing up. They're teenagers now. She got all that time with them, and now she gets to spend the rest of her life in prison. Was it worth it? No. This guy lost everything he was going to lose when his wife found out. Now he spends the rest of his life until he gets put to death. You know, like, was it worth it? No. You could have just lost your wife and had the rest of your life to live. You would have found somebody else. You would have found your other two, because you always have two at a time, stupid. I mean, hang on a minute. Here.
All right, all parties are present. I'm going to read the sentence of the record at this time. In doing so, there are portions of the sentencing order that are case law citations that I will not be reading, but they do appear in the written order. Police found the body of 23-year-old Tanya Wise face down in a culvert ditch on the side of the road in a remote rural area of St. Lucie County. She suffered a significant blunt trauma blow to her skull, fracturing it and causing internal injury to her.
I'm going to kill that dog. Why does he have to go outside after he's already done it? God bless America. Why is he getting a lot of press right now? I lost a friend because of Ed Gein. Oh my God. I had a friend. Obviously, she wasn't a very good friend. I thought she was. beeping. Stop it. Oh. Well, I don't have Netflix anymore. Stay down there. I don't feel like dealing with you right now. Okay. I am not a morning person, but for some reason, this is easier when I start early in the morning. When I just nobody's awake yet, and I get up and I get started and I get settled, and I've started this in the middle of the day, and I'm not. My mindset's not. Okay. This friend of mine, who I thought was a friend, went to see Texas Chainsaw Massacre when the remake was in the theaters. And someone asked her how the movie was, and she said that it was good, but it was super scary. And she goes, I just felt so bad for those kids that really happened to them. And I looked at her and I said, that didn't really happen to them. Like, that didn't really happen. That was based on Ed Gein. That wasn't a real thing. That the character Leatherface was based on Ed Gein. And then I went on to explain who Ed Gein was. She's never talked to me since that day. I'm like, seriously? I lost a friend because I told them that Texas Chainsaw Massacre was not a real story. Okay, then. How did I lose a friend over that? That's ridiculous. Yeah. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre is based on Ed Gein. Psycho is based on Ed Gein. Silence of the Lambs is based on Ed Gein. Like, there's a lot of horror movies. Because, like, the whole story's not based on him. The human suit is based on him. And I'm not going to go there. He wanted to make a woman suit, just like the dude in Silence of the Lamb. Because he wanted to be a woman. That's all I'm going to say. It's creepy. The whole thing's creepy. So, anyway, I did not know there was a Netflix limited series about him. But yeah, I've known about Ed Gein for a very, very long time. Because of the horror movies, because I love horror, well, and then the true crime too, but I love horror movies. So those three um, are some of my favorites. Actually, I can't stomach Texas Chainsaw Massacre anymore. I loved it. I like the remake better than the original. And then um, when it started coming out with all the sequels, it got far too gross for me. I couldn't, and now I just can't watch any of them. I don't know. I guess as I got older, I got more sensitive to the gory stuff. I guess I don't know, but yeah. So yeah, he technically was not a serial killer. He was a grave robber. I think he only killed like one person, didn't he? Like one, was it like just one or two that he killed? I don't think he was technically a serial killer. I think they stopped him before he became one. I think it was at the point that he didn't have a chance to continue robbing graves or something that he started killing. Now I want to watch that. Dang it, I don't have Netflix anymore. I got to whittle down some of my monthly subscription stuff that I don't really use that much, so I can pay for my Disney Pass. Why are you asking me if I want to play games? I do not want to play games. Stupid laptop. Okay. All right. Sentencing. Yes, I do think I saw him. The primary. Yeah, I think that's him right there. Next to. He thinks his client's an idiot, but he's still there.
All right, all parties are present. I'm going to read the sentence of the court into the record at this time. In doing so, there are portions of the sentencing order that are case law citations that I will not be reading, but they do appear in the written order. Police found the body of 23-year-old Tanya Wise face down in a culvert ditch on the side of the road in a remote rural area of St. Lucie County. She suffered a significant blunt trauma blow to her skull, fracturing it and causing internal injury to her brain. Her throat had been cut.
No.
There were 2 deep lacerations on her neck, going right down to the bone. One from the midpoint of her throat to just under her right ear, and the other from the middle of her throat to her collarbone. The medical examiner could not specify the sequence of the injuries. Therefore, the degree to which Tanya experienced terror from this horrific murder could not be proven. The blow to her head was so devastating that if it was the first blow, it would likely have rendered her unconscious and in and of itself could have caused death. The slashing of her throat was so violent, deep, and penetrating that it in and of itself was a fatal injury. There were no defensive wounds found on her body. Tanya was in the very late stages of pregnancy of a baby boy whom she was going to name Josiah. DNA analysis proved the defendant to be the boy's father. As a result of her murder, the baby also passed. The defendant, a man in his 40s, plotted and planned her murder for days. His days of planning and plotting were caught on audio and video. Could you please silence your phones? He drove a garbage truck for a living. The trucking company had installed recording devices in all of its trucks for liability purposes. His working companion on the truck was his nephew, Eric Alvarado. As reflected on the recordings, he told his nephew that Tanya Wise was going to destroy his life by exposing their illicit affair and the resulting pregnancy to the defendant's wife. Well in advance of her murder, he chose a location to kill her and dispose of her body. The location was along the street path of his garbage truck work route. After the murder, he recounted the events to his nephew, telling him how he covered it up. In planning the murder and recounting it, he did so in a remarkably callous, carefree, and nonchalant way. When police later interviewed him, he feigned surprise to hear of her murder. He claimed he only knew Tanya as an acquaintance and never had sex with her. He completely denied the possibility that the baby boy was his child. The jury convicted the defendant of the first-degree murder of Tanya Wise and the first-degree murder of her unborn child, Josiah. Unanimously, the jury made a written finding of the existence of the following statutory aggravating factors. 1, as to both victims, pursuant to section 921.1416B, that the defendant was previously or contemporaneously convicted of another capital felony or of a felony involving the use or threat of violence to the person, which, respective to each count, is based on the contemporaneous conviction as to the victim involved in the other count. 2, as to both victims, section 921.1416I, that the capital felony was a homicide and was committed in a cold, calculated, and premeditated manner without any pretense of moral or legal justification. 3, as to the unborn child, section 921.1416L, that the victim of the capital felony was a person less than 12 years of age. By a vote of 8-4, the jury recommended a sentence of death as to the murder of Tanya Wise. Also, by a vote of 8-4, the jury recommended a sentence of death as to the murder of Tanya Wise's unborn child, Josiah. After receiving the jury's recommendation, the court allowed the defendant a separate hearing to allow for an opportunity to argue and present additional mitigating evidence pursuant to Spencer v. State. Weighing of aggravating factors as to the murder of Tanya Wise. Pursuant to section 921.141(6)b, the defendant was previously convicted of another capital felony for or threat of violence to the person, which, respective to each count, is based on the contemporaneous conviction as to the victim involved in the other count. This aggravating factor was established as a matter of law as to each victim by virtue of the jury's convictions for 2 capital murders. Violent felony is committed contemporaneously with a capital crime can qualify under the prior. The criminal episode involved multiple victims. The prior violent felony conviction aggravator is one of the most weighty in Florida's sentencing scheme. The court assesses its weight as to Tanya Wise as follows. To understand how weighty this aggravating factor is in this case, it is noteworthy that this aggravating factor could be satisfied if the defendant had premeditated the murder of one person, but simultaneously and spontaneously committed a violent felony upon another person, such as an aggravated assault or aggravated battery. But here, there are 2 simultaneous premeditated murders. This is the much more extreme scenario in which this aggravator can be established. Therefore, it is entitled to very great weight. The court affords it very great weight as to Tanya Wise. Pursuant to section 921.1416I, the capital felony was a homicide and was committed in a cold, calculated, and premeditated manner without any pretense of moral or legal justification. The cold, calculated, and premeditated aggravating factor focuses on whether the defendant had a careful plan or prearranged design to commit murder before the fatal incident. Calm reflection is often involved. The evidence of calm, cool reflection and planning well beyond what is required for premeditated murder, is overwhelming in this case, and the court finds it proven beyond a reasonable doubt. To maximize the chances of avoiding detection, the defendant coldly contemplated in advance every aspect of these murders, including the location and method of killing. He did so in a remarkably callous, carefree, and nonchalant way. As to Tanya Wise, the aggravating factor is entitled to very great weight. Weighing of aggravating factors as to the murder of the unborn child of Tanya Wise. Pursuant to Section 921.141(6)b, the defendant was previously convicted of another capital felony or of a felony involving the use or threat of violence to the person, which, respective to each count, is based on the contemporaneous conviction as to the victim involved in the other count. As to the unborn child, the court's analysis of the weight of this aggravating factor is the same as to the murder of Tanya Wise. The court affords it very great weight as to the unborn child. Section 921.1416I, the capital felony was a homicide and was committed in a cold, calculated, and premeditated manner without any pretense of moral or legal justification. As to the unborn child, the court's analysis of the weight of this aggravating factor is the same as it relates to the murder of Tanya Wise. As to the unborn child, the aggravating factor is entitled to very great weight. Section 921.1416L, the victim of the capital felony was a person less than 12 years of age. The court finds this factor proven beyond a reasonable doubt. The child in this case was unborn, yet fully formed and about to be born within days. The premeditated murder of this baby deprived him of ever experiencing life outside of the womb. The premeditated murder of an unborn, fully formed human being still in the mother's womb, about to be born within days, is by its nature extremely abhorrent, reprehensible, and strikingly revealing of a malevolent mind. The court affords this aggravating factor very great weight. Findings regarding mitigating factors reasonably established in ways to properly carry out its important duty and to allow for meaningful appellate review, this court must expressly evaluate herein each statutory and non-statutory mitigating circumstance. In addition to the mitigation presented to the jury, the court has also considered any suggested mitigation from the Spencer hearing. Any proposed mitigation, whether statutory or non-statutory, must be reasonably established by the greater weight of the evidence. If a statutorily listed mitigating circumstance is supported by the evidence, it must then be weighed as to its significance. Unlike statutory mitigation, the court must first determine if proven non-statutory suggested mitigating circumstances are truly mitigating in nature. Once truly mitigating non-statutory mitigation is established by the greater weight of the evidence, the court must weigh it. It is within the sentencing judge's discretion to determine the relative weight given to each established mitigator. Because of the overlapping and related nature of many of the mitigators, the court has grouped some of them to ease and clarify the analysis. The court has still individually contemplated and considered the nuances of each of the suggestions in weighing them. The court has carefully applied its reasoned judgment in this regard. Statutory mitigating factors. Considered statutorily listed mitigating activity and considered related non-statutory mitigating factor, the defendant has no prior history of violence. These circumstances were established by stipulation as to no prior criminal history in general, and by testimony as to the lack of violent history. This included specific instances when the defendant maintained his cool when others might have reacted more aggressively. Adding to this mitigation is
My time, Marty. I waited a little bit. You did make it. He's just reading the legal jargon part of it. So you haven't missed the decision yet.
that during the defendant's life, he was faced with stressful circumstances similar to those posed by the threat of exposing his infidelity in this case. Specifically, he was on more than one occasion taxed with his self-created predicament of supporting children he fathered out of wedlock. On those occasions, he did not respond with violence or criminal activity. Rather, he responded responsibly. Additionally, during the breakup of his relationship with Madeline Cologne, she put him in a situation where many men might respond aggressively, but he did not. When she discovered his involvement with another woman, she burned his clothes, broke his phone, keyed his truck, and flattened its tires. Despite this, he remained calm and did not act violently. According to her, he handled it perfectly. Childhood reports of the defendant's behavior were consistent with him being non-aggressive. Family members reported that they had to stick up to bullies on the defendant's behalf. This mitigator was established, and it is entitled to moderate to great weight. Non-statutory mitigating factors. Considered related non-statutory mitigating factors. While in jail custody awaiting trial, the defendant has been a peaceful, mostly compliant inmate. The defendant can positively contribute to society as an inmate worker. If sentenced to life in prison without parole, the defendant has demonstrated exemplary jail-prison behavior. The defendant will be required to work 60 hours per week in general population at the Florida Department of Corrections if sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, and he would adjust well in that general population setting. He would likely contribute to the prison system. The defendant poses no danger to prison, jail staff, or inmates. The defendant will be completely incapacitated and pose no danger to the community with a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. As listed by the defense, the defendant, quote, can be redeemed, unquote, which the court takes to mean that he would prove to be a good inmate. Since his arrest in 2018 for these murders, while in the county jail, the defendant has only committed 3 disciplinary violations, and they were all minor and virtually insignificant in nature. He's had no fights with other inmates or violent encounters with guards. The testimony did credibly establish a significant probability that the defendant would be a model prisoner if placed in general population. The defendant's personality and work skill set would suit him well in general population. The court finds these mitigators to be proven and affords them moderate weight. Considered non-statutory mitigating factor. During a previous romantic relationship with Lucinda Cook, the defendant acted like a gentleman and was nonviolent in the face of instigating behavior by Ms. Cook. Ms. Cook was a gas station attendant and the mother of 3 young children when she started dating the defendant approximately 10 years before the murders. They dated for a year and then lived together for a short time. When she met the defendant, she had just come out of an abusive relationship and as a result was impatient and verbally abusive to the defendant. There came a time when she decided to end her relationship with the defendant for reasons unknown to the court. During the term of their relationship, she described the defendant as acting gentlemanly to her and her children. Her children were fond of him. The defendant made her and her children feel safe. According to her, despite his model gentlemanly behavior, she found fault with everything, essentially no reason. She described that during their time together, it was common for other women with whom he was also romantically involved to come around her and cause problems. She went out of her way to emphasize that this was no fault of the defendant. When she decided it was time for him to leave their relationship and presumably their domicile, she pushed and damaged his fancy motorcycle and spat in his face. Despite her aggravating behavior, he never argued, got mad, or did anything to retaliate. She never saw him act violently, even though he was apparently employed at that time as a club bouncer. To the contrary, rather than describing, quote, like a clown, unquote, she never saw him angry enough, quote, to do something, unquote. She described him as exemplary and that in hindsight she should have treated him better. On cross-examination, she conceded that since the time of their separation, she avoided all contact with him. However, recently his family persisted in making phone calls to her in an effort to make her come forward as a character witness for him. Her first contact with the defendant after their separation was approximately a month prior to trial. The court's conclusion regarding this witness and what her testimony establishes is as follows. Her overall credibility is low. The court believes she exaggerated the truth. However, there is enough truth in her testimony such that she established this mitigating factor. The weight of the mitigating factor is reflective of the source that established it, her testimony. Therefore, the court affords it moderate weight. Considered non-statutory mitigating factor. The defendant was abandoned by his father as a child. At trial, there was scant evidence of this other than a mention that the defendant, quote, never really spoke to his dad, unquote, by Miss Cologne. There was also testimony from Joanne Stone that the defendant's father was a bus driver and apparently lived with him in Bridgeport, Connecticut. However,
Are you kidding me? On a Saturday afternoon. I can't even get through a stream on a Saturday afternoon without tech issues. What the hell?
considered related mitigating factors. The defendant was raised in chronic poverty. The defendant left it. The defendant was resilient and overcame his lack of education through consistent work ethic. The defendant began working and earning money to help support his family at a young age. The evidence established that the defendant was raised in a low-income environment and likely had less opportunity to further himself than most other people. However, as testified by Monica Ropiza, his cousin, they were low income, but, quote, had what they needed, unquote. These circumstances were proven. The court affords them little weight. Considered related non-statutory mitigating factors. The defendant suffers from transgenerational family trauma. The defendant experienced chronic exposure to trauma during his childhood. The defendant's mother had a traumatic upbringing because she was abandoned by her father, causing her to leave school. When she was only 15 years old, she got pregnant with a son who died in her arms from illness about a year after birth. Naturally, the death of her son was traumatic for her. The defendant's father was older than she, making their relationship illegal. 17 years of age, she
What
became...
is transgenerational trauma? And why are we blaming his dead brother for his actions? I'm sorry. I agree with Wiggles. That's a crock. Why are we blaming his dead brother that he never met. It's not like it was his little brother that he loved and played with and had a relationship with. No, this was the brother before him. Never knew this brother. Why is that? Why? How did that form anything that happened to him? Nobody takes accountability for their own actions nowadays, ever. It's always somebody else's fault. The way I was raised. I mean, and I'm not going to lie, there are plenty of times when I've said the same thing. Like why I don't know what a healthy food is. Because I was never taught what a healthy food was, but still. His dead brother that he never knew made him kill his mistress how many decades later? No. God.
Pregnant with the defendant. The defendant was raised in a low-income, crime-ridden neighborhood. Early into his life, his parents separated from each other. His father was largely absent, but did live nearby. At some point during his youth, the defendant's mother developed a drinking problem. This caused her, to some degree, as a single mother, to be emotionally or physically unavailable to him. The defendant did have a large extended family immediately available to him. Some of them were drinkers too. His aunts, who lived in his public housing project, to some degree helped raise him. There was broad, general, non-convincing testimony that the family was exposed to, quote, drug dealers, fights, and crazy people, unquote. The court finds these mitigators proven and assigns them little weight. Considered non-statutory mitigating factors. The defendant has established and maintains long-term, substantive, meaningful relationship with friends. The defendant has established and maintains close family bonds, relationships with his cousins. The defendant has maintained a close relationship with his mother. These were established by the evidence. The court considers this mitigation also in the greater context that the murders in this case, as aggravated as they are seemingly out of character. The defendant's life relationships are not typical of the type of antisocial person one would expect would commit the murders in question. The court finds these mitigators proven and affords them moderate weight. Considered related non-statutory mitigating factors. The defendant has established and maintains close family bonds relationships with his children. The defendant provided support for his children. The defendant has established and maintained before his incarceration close family bonds relationships with the mothers of his children. Aside from committing the murders, the defendant has been a positive influence on family members. The court finds these mitigators proven. There is a huge contradiction between how the defendant responded to the prospect of fathering his child to be born of Tanya Weiss and how he supported his other children. The defendant supported his other children generously, according to his means, and without compulsion. He was very active in their lives. With regard to one of his children, his support continued even when he learned after years of support that the child was not in fact biologically his. The court affords these mitigating factors moderate to great weight. Considered related non-statutory mitigating factors. The defendant was a positive influence on his former girlfriend and her children. The defendant helped his former girlfriend's son's mother escape a dangerous domestic violence situation. Defendant fathered a child with Madeline Cologne. His relationship with her was short-lived due to his two-timing. However, after they split up, they stayed friends, and the defendant supported their child, Antonio, by regularly bringing groceries and school supplies and by paying the child's social fee for the Boys and Girls Club. Madeline had just come out of a violent domestic relationship. The defendant's calm presence assisted her in transitioning from the trauma of her prior situation. He made her and her son feel secure. The court finds these mitigators to be proven and affords them moderate weight. Considered non-statutory mitigating factor: the indirect effect of racism against Puerto Rican Americans on the defendant. The existence of racism of this nature, no doubt at some point in his life, filtered down to the defendant. However, there were no direct instances of discrimination or racist behavior directly pointed at the defendant. The court finds this to be proven and affords it very little weight. Considered related non-statutory mitigating factors: the defendant has always been a hard worker in manual labor fields such as furniture delivery and security work. The defendant has always been self-supporting, not a drain on society. There was scant evidence of the exact nature of the defendant's jobs over the years. However, the record is overall consistent with him being a hard-working, contributing member of society. The court finds these circumstances to be proven and affords them little weight. Considered non-statutory mitigating factor: the defendant escaped a high-crime, high-poverty area, independently moving to Florida when he was just 15 or 16 years old. The defendant exhibited resiliency in overcoming early life challenges. The evidence does establish these circumstances. However, there were no credible direct instances proven of the defendant personally witnessing any extreme violence such as gang violence. There was no strong evidence of the negative effects of living in a low-income environment. The court affords these mitigating factors little weight. Considered non-statutory mitigating factor: the defendant exhibited excellent courtroom behavior. Overall, the defendant was well behaved during the trial process. However, when the court received their sentencing recommendation verdict from the jury, when his conduct counted the most, the undersigned did observe the defendant expressing his disagreement to the jury. He noticeably shook his head in disapproval rather than remaining still and accepting the judgment of his peers. This came after he heard the court admonish all audience members not to react by showing joy and be dissuaded from serving. The defendant did the very thing that he heard the court admonish the audience not to do. The court finds this factor to be proven and affords it extremely little weight. Considered non-statutory mitigating factor: the defendant will continue to offer positive life influence on his children, other family members, and friends who have become emotionally dependent on him. Given the circumstances of his family's reaction to his conviction by distancing themselves, the degree to which the defendant's family will stay in touch with him is uncertain. However, the court does believe that if given a chance, the defendant would remain in contact with and support his relatives as best he could. The court finds this to be proven and affords it little weight. Considered non-statutory mitigating factor: after the jury recommended the death penalty for him, the defendant expressed empathy for his victims to his mitigation specialist. The court finds this to be proven and affords it very little weight. Suggested and rejected non-statutory mitigating factors: the negative effect of a prolonged appellate process on the victim's family and the dangerousness of general population as opposed to death row. The court does not find that the negative effect of a prolonged appellate process on the victim's family is a proper consideration, nor does the court find that the dangerousness of general population as opposed to death row is a proper consideration. In the defense mitigation expert report, neither of these were connected whatsoever personally to the defendant. Rather, they were framed as general policy arguments. Neither of these circumstances meet the definition of a mitigating factor under the law. That is, matters relevant to the defendant's character or record or the circumstances of the offense proffered as a basis for a sentence less than death. Conclusion: after the weighing process, the court has carefully weighed the aggravating and mitigating circumstances as to each murder individually. The court's weighing process can be summarized as follows. As to Tanya Wise, there are two aggravating factors that are entitled to very great weight. As to the unborn child, there are three aggravating factors that are entitled to very great weight. As to the mitigating factors, the cumulative weight of the mitigation is entitled to moderate to great weight. As to each murder, the court finds that the aggravating factors outweigh the mitigating circumstances. As required by law, this court has given great weight to the jury's recommendation. The court's weighing analysis in this case, with its acknowledgement of significant yet outweighed mitigation, is a reflection of the jury's 8-4 vote for death as to each of the murders. The court's independent evaluation of the case herein leads to the conclusion that the death sentence is the appropriate and just sentence as to each victim. Therefore, Jose Soto-Escalera, I hereby sentence you to death for the first-degree murder of Tanya Wise. I also independently sentence you to death for the first-degree murder of her unborn child. I hereby order that you be taken by the Sheriff of St. Lucie County to Florida State Prison for close and secure confinement until the date of your execution, at such time as scheduled by the Governor of the State of Florida, at the place of execution named in his warrant of execution. You shall be put to death by the means provided by Florida law at that time, and may God have mercy on your soul. You are hereby notified that the sentence of death is subject to automatic review by the Supreme Court of Florida. The court finds you continue to be indigent and hereby appoints the office of the public defender to represent you on appeal. And that is the sentence of the court, and that will end this case. Thank you all.
Dang, that took him almost an hour to read all that. Oh, joy. Now he's going to be like 2 hours for me. You know, who is that? That is the only prison in Florida that's called a prison. I've always found that interesting. All of the other prisons in Florida are called correctional facilities. But the prison where death row is Florida State Prison. I don't know why it's like that. Because we don't have parole. Like, correctional facility. If they're going there to be corrected, rehabilitated, whatever, I can understand correctional facility. Because they're, like, trying to correct you, like, make you a better person to get you back out on the street where you won't reoffend or whatever. So, correctional institute. And then the state prison you're never coming out of if you're on death row. So, like, that makes sense. Or if you have life, that makes sense. But what about all the people that still have life and are in a correctional facility? I don't know. It's just words, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, it's not an excuse. Like, okay, take the Adelsons, for instance. You've got Donna and Charlie and Wendy They all went along with her deal. But then you've got, what's the other one's name? Rob, who left. He's not even in the state anymore. He got the heck out of Dodge. Like, because he saw them for who they were and he didn't want to be influenced by the toxicity in his family. Like, it's not an excuse. Take responsibility. And, like, yeah, I understand it now. When, yeah, when you say it like this, I get it. Just like the food pyramid. Yeah, Marty's right. I had no idea what 4432 was. But when you learn something in school and then you go home and you don't live it, it doesn't stick. Like when I was a preschool teacher and we had 3 and 4 year olds that were still in diapers and they could come to us and say they needed their diaper changed. Because my mom had she was the director of the daycare and then I worked for her. It was awful working for my mother, let me tell you. But anyway, so during the week, she would say, if you can come to tell me that you need your diaper changed, you can come tell me when you need to go. So come tell me when you need to go, and I will take you to the bathroom. So we started potty training these 3-year-old kids. And during the week, by the end of the week, they got to where they were potty trained. And then they would go home for the weekend, and they would come back Monday in diapers again. And my mom would tell these people, we were potty training them. They didn't have an accident all day long, and they'd be in their pull-ups. They didn't have an accident all day long. Come back Monday, we'd be changing diapers again. Oh, I figured, Judy, you're great with that stuff. I figured that you found it online somewhere. But I get coping mechanisms. I get how you find a coping mechanism that works for whatever you've gone through, and then you keep using that, and then it becomes to your detriment when circumstances change. I get that. But you can't use that as an excuse for your actions when you do something wrong. You know, I can't use that as an excuse for me eating crap because I don't know because growing up, I didn't learn what was healthy and what was not. Like, I can't use that as an excuse. Although, I can say that's why I was an overweight child. That's not why I'm an overweight adult, but that is why I was an overweight child. So, but that's so prevalent in our society right now. No one takes responsibility. No one takes responsibility. I'm trying, Marty. I've lost 70 pounds. You saw the picture, didn't you? I posted that picture, right? Yeah, because Nichelle told me I look better now. Of my big, round, fat. When I saw that picture, you guys, Facebook unearthed that picture of me from 2012. Judy. I'm having baked pork chops tonight. That picture of me from 2012, I didn't even recognize myself. But oh man. Let me see if I can find it. Look at that. Look at that. It doesn't even look like me. My hair's shorter too, but my cheeks are fatter. It doesn't even look like me. I look at that picture and I'm like, who in the heck was that? Oh, it's 17. I thought it was 2012. I could not believe it. I was shocked when I saw that picture. Just like, oh my god. The biggest I've been was 310 and I didn't even realize. It I mean, it was totally like a surprise. When I realized that I was over 300 pounds, I was like, "Oh my god, this is not happening." And that was when I was like, "Oh no, we're doing something." And I think I was 280 when I had the weight loss surgery, and it it worked a little bit as far as like I couldn't eat as much, but I could still eat whatever. You know, like I kept hearing, "Well, you won't be able to eat this, you won't be able to eat that," and but I could still eat whatever I wanted. I just couldn't eat as much of it, so I didn't lose the weight. But it's a weight loss tool. You still have to diet and eat right and all that, and I wasn't ready for that yet. And then um the beginning of last year, all of a sudden I got desperate because I couldn't fit in rides at the theme parks. And I was like, this is not happening. I'm not paying the same amount for a ticket as everybody else does and only be able to ride half the rides. And that's when I got serious about it. I was like, that's not happening. I'm not going to be one of these people that are going to run around and complain because the park doesn't accommodate me. That's on me. It's easier for me to change than to complain about the park not accommodating me. So they did. They just raised the prices. Um, Disney, I've never had a problem with. Disney is better about guests with disabilities. I'm going to include obesity as a disability. Um, but they're better. Um, but Universal Studios, you have to be, I'm not going to say small, but on the smaller side of obese to fit in a lot of their restraints, which is good because I don't want to die. I mean, seriously, um, you fall out of one of them things, you're not surviving that, or you're getting very badly injured. But yeah, the Disney prices, let's see. We're going next Saturday. I'm going to get my annual pass, which went up. The down payment went up $5. I don't know how much the monthly payment went up. I think it was $3 a month. And then Travis, he doesn't want an annual pass. He just wants a day ticket. And he said he'll buy, like, if he wants to go with me, he will buy a day ticket. And so it was $187. I think it's $190 now for a day ticket. But some of the day tickets they said are going to go as high as $226, and it's not like a normal place where their admission price is their admission price. It depends on the park and it depends on the day. So you never know. Like you can't say cost this to get into Disney World. It depends on the time of year, the day, it's crazy. So you always have to check the date you're going to go and which park you're going to go to figure out what the price is. It's Disney has to make everything complicated. And the park attendance is down. when Epic Universe opened, it was almost empty. On opening day, it was almost empty. So, and now they're having all these, the one guy died on the one roller coaster, the other roller coaster caught fire, although they were closing that roller coaster and taking it down. So I don't know how. Travis says that maybe what happened was that when they were taking it down, that section must have still had electricity going to it. And maybe when they were taking it down, the electricity started a fire or something. But I don't know. I'm sure there'll be updates on that. Um, but so Universal's having problems right now. Disney's problems are made their own man-made problems though, because they keep expanding as the attendance is going down. So they're charging more because they're spending more money. Hey, Jen. So they're charging more because they're spending more money on their expansions, yet their park attendance is down. So it doesn't make any sense. And now they're predicting that the parks are going to be even more empty because of all the construction next year. So now they've just raised all their ticket prices. So you would think after all these years, Disney would have their business model together a lot better, But they don't. But why am I complaining? Because I'm the one that's fixing to buy tickets. But when I buy tickets, I usually, actually, I have said in the past that they lose money on me when when I buy annual passes, because I go, yeah, yeah, they know people will pay it. Yeah, like I'm gonna do. But see, I don't buy stuff when I have an annual pass. Like, um, I'll just buy like one meal usually, and then that's it. So it's, and then too, like people buy souvenirs and they buy food, and except though food and wine's going on right now, so I might buy more food. Because I want to try, I've never had Indian. Yeah, you do. You have enough stuff for both of us, Jen. Yes, you do. This woman, I swear. Hey, Mike. Yes. Why aren't you guys green? Oh, you're green. Why aren't you green, Mike? I thought you got a membership. They have got so much Disney stuff, those two. Yeah, I've never had Indian food, and yes, you need it all, Jen. I know you do. You need it all. Yeah, I know. I thought you got a membership. Um, she had at the Food and Wine Festival, they have these booths set up where they have food, like small portions of food. Yes, Judy, for her birthday, gifted 65 memberships. I don't want you to work either. I want you to stay here and talk. Actually, we're about done, but um, they have this Indian booth. You said it was like by China, right? So they have these food booths set up all over the park with smaller portions, fairly reasonable prices of things that you would normally not be able to get unless you were in like a specialty restaurant. And I've I've been once. Back when I went, it was 2005, I think, and they didn't have as many choices. Now they're like all over the place, everywhere. And it used to just be in October. Now it runs from September to November. And I've been watching them live stream. Oh yeah, guys. Judy, can you drop Magic Adventures link in the chat, please? They have a channel and they stream from there. So I've been watching them eat all this awesome foreign food. Now I want to go try it all myself. Um, um, they had a pickle milkshake, which I want to try. But soon, yes, soon we are. Um, let's see, what else have they had? They had, you had that that boba drink in Japan. You had the Indian food. Trying to think, what else did you have? I don't know. I've watched them eat all kinds of things for the past couple of months at the Epcot Food and Wine. It tasted like Windex. I've never had boa. And they have concerts there too. So it's the price of admission to Epcot. Of course, you have to pay for the food, and then you get the concert. So we've seen, let me see, Toby Mac with them. With other streamers, I've seen Joey Fatone, Sheila E., which I didn't really like Sheila E. Yeah, Mike. How do you know what Windex tastes like? um, Mercy Me. Trying to remember who all's been there. Starship. I don't remember. But we're going to go see the Beach Boys, right, Jen? The Beach Boys are going to be there in November. So, Boys to Men's going to be there in November, too. So. But, yeah, they know people will pay the prices, so. But it's really weird, too, though, because of the holiday parties. No one goes during the day because holiday, yeah. Shoot, I forgot what they were called. Darn, it's a cover group. It's like a Motown tribute group. I forgot what they were called. They were really good though. They were really good. Bye, Jen. um. So when they have parties, you guys remember I went to the Halloween party. When they have parties, you can get in at 4, but the party's like from 7 to midnight. So people know that, so they don't go to the Magic Kingdom on the day of the parties because then they have to get kicked out early. So who wants? Okay, so who wants to go to a park that's going to close or you have to leave at 6? So there's not a lot of crowds. But then, so like there was a party Friday night, and there'll be a party tomorrow night. So like the crowd today in the Magic Kingdom is going to be insane because no one's going to go, like people didn't go yesterday and no one's going to go tomorrow. So everyone's going to hit it today. So it's going to be crazy. So it's a completely different animal during the holidays because they're working around the holiday parties and it's insanity. And with my the pass that I get the ones with the blockout dates because it makes the pass cheaper. And then I will, Jen, and I don't go those days. Like the break, like in the middle of the summer when it's the hottest and the kids are out of school and everything, I don't even want to go then. So why pay for a pass that I can go then when I'm not going to go then anyway? So that saves me some money with the annual pass too. So I don't even worry about that. So Christmas time and summer, spring break, like I don't go near it. 'Cause that's when everybody else goes. I stay home. So, and we can tell, can't we, Mike, when there's like, you can tell when it's like locals day there, when it's all the local people, and then when it's, oh, good. Yeah, you guys, they will be there tomorrow. Which park are you going to? Oh, yeah, and there's a surprise. Jen has a surprise for us coming in November, but she's keeping it a secret. She's just dropping hints. So, yes, I will be with you guys tomorrow. They they stream on, can't tell. Okay. Um they stream on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. Jen just said can't tell, and then Mike just told. Okay. So, and they're because of the holiday parties, they're kind of working their schedule around different because um the parties are on Tuesday nights and Sunday nights, and so they can do like parades and fireworks and stuff. He's wrong. According to you, Jen, he's always wrong. They are like this all the time, you guys. You got to go check out their channel. This is them. They're like they're like they're like this all the time. Okay, guys. Well, thank you for joining me to watch the sentencing. I know. I know it wasn't very exciting, but I just wanted to see if the judge was going to give him the death penalty or life because he didn't have any priors. And the way he was talking about all the good things that people were saying about him, even though I knew what the outcome was, for a minute I thought he was actually going to give him life. But no, he gave him the death penalty. So there you go. Don't kill a pregnant woman in Florida. Okay, guys, I will see you Monday morning at 8 o'clock. We're going to do Brooks until 3, and at 3 we're going to do Donna Adelson's sentencing. So that'll be fun. I wonder what she's going to do. You think she's going to do something? You think she's going to behave? Okay, guys, I will see you Monday morning. Have a great weekend. Remember, be kind to people, love your family, and Jesus loves you, and so do I. Did I say tomorrow? No, Monday. Monday. Bye, guys. Keep me straight, Marty.